Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We're an anime podcast where we watch an anime separately. We come together on this podcast. We discuss it in a very book club style format to pretend that we're smart. But we are, in fact, three idiots. And that's why we turn our discussion over to you, the audience, to tell us what you think about the anime, what your theories are. Correct us where we're right. Agree with us where we're wrong. No, that's not. That doesn't make sense.
I prefer that. That episode was a couple back. You shouldn't.
Yeah. So that's the concept here. We'd love to hear your feedback on the anime that we're watching, which is the second half of Undead Unluck. We did already discuss the first half in our last podcast episode, so this is where you're starting. We're going to be jumping right into episode 13 here pretty soon and not doing a whole lot of filling in the backstory. So you should check out that other podcast. Anyway, to discuss the second half of Undead Unluck Season 1, I need the help of my co-host. And first off, we have the Edward to my Elric. It's Jeremy with his anime hot take.
Hey, the only hot take here is our collective trash opinions on fun anime. Credit goes to the Metalhead Otaku because that was just so good I had to steal it.
That was a review left for us, and you know what? He's right.
Yeah, we love it.
100%.
Yep.
What a cop-out, by the way.
I know, yeah. It's too good.
We also have the Majin to my Boo. It's Jason with his anime hot take.
Ghost in the Shell live action was way better than it got credit for.
That's hot.
That's genuinely yeah. Like I want to disagree with that so bad.
Fight.
Let's fight.
I can feel the vitriol rising.
Sizzling.
And
Yes.
my name is Troy. My anime hot take is that original anime stories generally are better than those adapted from mangas or light novels or other sources.
I kind of agree with that one. Generally,
Spicy.
can generally be part of a hot take.
I don't know.
Doesn't that
Well,
lower the
you
temperature?
We make
someone
the rules
else's
here.
review. You don't get to complain.
And just like our anime, it depends on your interpretation of the rules.
Yes.
Spoiler. No. We actually do need to make a quick correction, though. What is it called when the newspapers have to take back a story? What is that called?
Correction.
No. Yes, but no.
Retraction?
Oh, retraction.
Good.
We have a retraction from 2 episodes ago during our what we call the drunken episode.
Oh,
Where-
so we're saying that it was a good anime, or
Nope.
nope?
In the course of discussion about that anime, the topic came up about spaghetti and whether you should mix it with your sauce or just pour it on top. And it was
Is this really happening?
stated
Troy has to bring this
that-
up. You know he has to.
that Italians don't pre-mix their spaghetti by a certain Jason.
Jason's just gone.
Since then, we have found
I did not buy off on
corroborating
this
evidence
retraction, by the way.
that Italians
I know.
do pre-mix
I
their
agree
sauce
with
and
you.
spaghetti. So, for those of you pasta lovers out there, now you know the truth. The truth is out there.
Yeah.
You don't know how upset I was. I forgot to do that last episode.
This feels targeted.
Yeah, I know exactly.
All right, we need to talk about Undead Unluck. Again, this is part 2. We've already watched part 1. But before we go into any spoilers, we're going to start with our general reviews, just so you can tell if we liked it or not. Jeremy, why don't you start us off?
I liked it a lot. I thought the characters were really entertaining. The story was great. A lot of the issues that I had from the previous one were just solved. They were explained. And that was very important to me. There were still a few of the same issues. Like one of the things I complained about before was how much time was spent recapping things that recently happened either in the last episode or even in the same episode. And I mean, there is a time and place for that, certainly. And when it comes to shonen anime in particular, the time and place is usually in the middle of a battle. Um, but I was getting really strong vibes of like the Toonami Dragon Ball Z episodes where you would spend like half the episode rewatching what you watched from the previous episode, and then you would just get like a tidbit of advancement. That happened at least once, maybe twice in here, where it was pretty harsh. There was one episode where it was 7 minutes before it was anything new, and so yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint. But it's not an issue that should stop you from watching it, though. It's really entertaining.
Now, I actually 100% agree with you, but I do want to ask, do you think the fact that you watch it episodes like back to back instead of week to week makes it even worse?
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing when it was happening is, would I actually appreciate some of this recap if it was a week between? Maybe. I don't think 7 minutes. I think I would be irritated with 7 minutes. Yeah, but I do think that like the initial 30-second to a minute, that's totally reasonable.
All right. Jason, your thoughts?
There's a lot of anime that I say, oh, it's fun, but or ones that are like, hey, this is thought provoking. This anime just kind of hits all those check boxes for me. Not only is it just flat out fun, like there's so many scenes that are just like you are having a good time watching it. But if you think about the context, if you think about what they're saying and how it applies to their world, some of the thought experiments and also just the overall themes are fascinating to think about. And it's got me thinking about this anime after I've done watching it. I'm really enjoying the ride as well as the deep character building. And also the relationship building. Like this anime just has little bits and pieces of all the things I really like. So, except for the recaps. Oh man, just concise. Let's just tighten that up.
Yep.
I am absolutely loving the anime as well. I'm super excited. I don't think a second season's been announced. I feel like it was underappreciated. I know Frieren was airing at the same time. There's lots of really good anime out when this was airing, but man, this was good stuff. For this half, I tried to put it in the scope of how do I feel about it compared to other shonen anime. So Jujutsu Kaisen, I would say, is the best visually, especially since it's like we're just going to show you cool fights. Don't worry about the story. You don't need to worry about a story. You don't even need to know these characters. Just watch cool, flashy stuff. Guys, did you see the clips from the Blu-ray of season 2 where they actually got to finish the animation? And it makes the great animation from what we already saw. Now it's like eyeball melting. It's insane. It got so much better.
Let's stay on track.
Okay. Comparing it to My Hero Academia, I think My Hero Academia is the best at bringing you to hype. Like, it's only going to be a 2-minute long fight, maybe even only a single punch, but you feel the emotion, the music swells up. This also doesn't do that as well. I would say this is better, though, than Fire Force and everything Fire Force does. What this does best, though, is characters and probably world building.
She's just crapping all over Fire Force.
I like Fire Force. I'm even watching it right now. I turn it on when I paint miniatures because I'm that kind of nerd. I turn on Fire Force because you don't have to pay a ton of attention, but it's cool action. All that. It's just. This is just everything Fire Force is, but better. And again, I would say the characters here are way better, and the world building is probably better. Okay, that's my thoughts. OP and closing, guys. Your thoughts on those?
It made me miss the first half's OP. This one's okay. The music's good, the visuals are fun, but like they are not nearly as the mute like if the OP for the first half was like a 10, this music was probably like a 7.5, 8. And the visuals for the OP of the original were very much more thought-provoking and eye-catchy. This one was almost, there's some cool stuff in between, but it's like a battle, and you know it's okay. Same thing with the ED. The ED was okay. I wasn't as impressed.
Yeah, the intro was very much like showcasing characters. That's what it felt like to me. A little bit of showcasing environments, but the outro I thought was pretty cool. I mean, the tone of the outro is kind of a little bit mellow, and the art. I mean, I don't want to say bland, but just in the sense of the character is in a specific environment, if I interpreted it correctly. But it's important where that environment is, but it's not a particularly eye-catching environment. It's just forests and mountains and rivers, and she's just wandering on a bridge and stuff. But there's a particular, like, the way that it concludes is really cool. She's shutting a book, and that's very important for the story that takes place in this second half of the season. So just having that in there and some of the other scenes that kind of are interspersed in the outro, I think bumps it up a bit for me, because I was wondering, like, what is this in reference to? And then later it all makes sense. I like that.
I really feel the same as these guys. The OP, it's very good and serviceable for a shonen anime, but it's following the heels of an absolute fire banger, visually stunning OP. So yeah, yeah, I missed the first one. But like, it wasn't bad. Up, down, down, up. Yeah, good. The ED, I think I could pass on it. I get what you're saying, Jeremy, but I was just like, okay, a bridge, a spider,
Right.
all right.
Yeah.
It wasn't doing anything for me. All right. Before we go to our official spoiler section, though, our next anime is a different anime. We are going to be watching Solo Leveling. This is my pick. Think Don Machi without the silliness or the girls, maybe
What's
like
the
a more
point? No.
serious
Yeah.
Don Machi. I believe it's like a very normal world, but they have dungeons, but there are no such thing as like stats or levels, except for this one main character who gets the magic ability to level up. Even though he is a weak nobody, now he can actually become somebody, but it's also supposed to be like hardcore, like you die in these dungeons.
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
We'll see.
Do you know if it's isekai?
It is not.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
It is, I believe, our second Korean webcomic that became an anime. We watched Tower of God. This is.
I like that one too.
This was also a Korean webcomic, webtoon type thing that got translated. So
I've heard good things about Solo Leveling.
yeah, it definitely had hype. I'll be honest, the main reason I picked it is because it's only 12 episodes long. I didn't want to do 2 cores because there's other stuff I'm waiting for that I want to use future picks on. So yeah, maybe I'm being manipulative. Whatever. Sue me. All right. I'm sure it's going to be great, though.
Yep.
I put my heart into these picks. At least I didn't pick dang shoujo anime.
Never gonna live that down.
No.
It's your.
You know what though? It may have been. Watching that anime may have produced our funniest video ever.
I know I think we need to change the thumbnail on it though. That's something like the drunk episode, just like in bold across it or something too.
So everybody knows what they're expecting.
Yeah, because everyone's like, "Well, I don't want to watch that anime." We know.
We didn't either.
Exactly. All right. Official spoiler warning. For all of Undead Unluck season 1, we will be focused on episodes 13 through 24 though. Spoiler warning has been dropped. And we're not going to do a whole lot of recap. We are literally mid-battle because we had to stop mid story arc from last time. So before we get to the actual story, though, we're going to come back and talk about our two main characters. Andy, the guy with the ability of undead, meaning he can never die, and he has regeneration that would make Wolverine jealous. And Fuko, the young lady who is with him because she's unlucky if she touches you. Or no, you're unlucky if she touches you. She turns off your luck and then you die. Or get bird pooped on, depending on her feelings about you. All right.
And how long she's been touching you.
Let's start with Andy. What are you guys' thoughts about Andy in this half? Does anything change, evolve from part one?
I really like Andy in this half. Not only do we get to see more of his past, but also we get to watch him. It's so nice. And this is not to crap on other anime, but like, it's such a refreshment to not have a whiny protagonist that is doubtful of their abilities and has to overcome self-doubt.
Yeah,
It's
Fire Force. I do like Fire Force. I'm kidding.
His true thoughts of Fire Force are coming out.
I'm also really happy that we're, it started off with a really shy, she's still kind of shy at the end, but like, she's super shy at the beginning, and she, as far as a love interest goes, she's not, you've got that youngness about her as far as like her approaching a relationship. But as this anime goes, she's 18.
It's
18.
Youthful innocence, but as an adult.
but the relationship between them is progressing in an adult manner, which is nice. Fire Force. But but it's not this like, I don't know if she likes me, I don't know if he likes me kind of thing. It's been said from the get-go, and he's like, this is what's going to happen. You're going to fall in love with me, and that's just how it's going to be. And I love that. And I love that it's...
Phrase that a little weird, but...
Jason loves strong men who know what they want.
But, obviously she's into it. I mean, the story makes that fairly clear. And also, later on, the growth of that relationship is really neat. And also, like, his split personality and, like, that thing going on, which we'll get into later, really fascinating. So, yeah, I'm really, really enamored with this character. Love strong men.
Well, me too. I really like him.
Here we go. This is your fault,
really
Troy.
Entertaining. Yeah, it is. He's really entertaining. He's fun to watch. Just like in the first half. I thought it was interesting the exploration that they did into just how much he could change if he had a paradigm shift in his own perception, his own, like, what he accepted as far as rules of reality. And I know that's just kind of bland, but I mean, let's just do it, I guess. Whether or not you imagine yourself as still being alive, if it's your brain. Do you need your brain to be alive? If you don't need your brain to be alive, then maybe you don't need your head to regenerate from, right? And what else changes if that simple rule changes? And of course that's based off of a deeper rule, but seeing how much of a change that could make, and then how much of an effect that would have cumulatively, the way the story presented it, it made him a really interesting character to explore. As far as like anything new about him, his old history, getting to see that a bit and see what kind of a person he was before made it more concrete as to why he was quick to defend her, quick to jump in and protect, even though he's a big mouth and he's going to act tough. It's interesting. There's a certain character who calls out the almost central focus and purpose of 3 characters, and one of those characters is Andy, and he says basically to defend someone, right? And that is not how I would have imagined Andy to be defined, but it is how he has played things out. Like that's how he's behaved this whole time, but it was always under the guise of, you know, having his own ends he was working toward. And I even thought that's what he was doing as far as their relationship goes, and I hope that they play with that a little, but I do get the impression that's not going to happen. He's genuinely enamored with her, and the relationship is now real. It's not just him manipulating her. I was hoping they'd play with that a bit more. They didn't. It's fine. It's still really good. But yeah, my thoughts on Andy.
I also love this character. I think he's one of the best parts of this whole thing. He carries most of the show. Fuko does a great job too, but we'll save her for next. He is brash. He's honest to a fault. He is. I mentioned last time, he's everything I want an immortal character to be. Someone who just has seen it all to the point where he's gotten carefree. And we get to see an earlier version of him that's full of stress, and they even mention, like, you're always naked. He's like, I wouldn't do that. You know, I'm so serious. And then we see that a lifetime of immortality does change you, and changes the way I think an immortal should be. But he's such a good guy. His relation, I know there was issues in the first couple episodes. Their relationship, Fuko's and Andy's, is so supportive of each other. They're both constantly working for each other's goals, and just support. He like, hey, you want to join the union? I'm gonna work to help that union. You want to die? I'm gonna help you. That's how it starts. But even every little thing, I'm gonna help Andy power up. I want to help Fuko, you know, change this part about her, or reach this goal that she has. They are constantly embracing each other's strengths and helping each other cover for their weaknesses. There's a whole episode where they just draw manga, and it shows just how it just is a really good example of what I'm talking about here, of how they support each other throughout the whole thing. It's amazing. Yeah, so Andy is most of that, to be fair. I do want to talk about his power change, but I'm going to wait till we get to it in the story, because I assume we will at that time. All right, Fuko, our unlucky girl. What do you think?
Fuko's great. Like I said about her in the last episode, I liked her slow development of confidence, and how it wasn't, her character arc isn't just kind of like shy badass. Like, she's definitely going through this growing period, and being able to you know, there's a part where she spends a lot of time with Andy, and she ends up learning kind of how to use a gun. And what's interesting, I find, and we'll get to this later, is that she's able to start targeting her ability, which till now has just been kind of like a, you know, hey, I know something bad is going to happen, but throw it to the wind, you know, RNG style. And also, she doesn't come off as whiny or a drag on the group. She's always there to do her best, but then, like, she augments Andy's abilities so much. And so it doesn't feel like he's constantly protecting her, but rather that they're a team. And I really appreciated that.
Hey, listen. I just can't help it. I just picture her.
Nice.
I just do, because she's always like on his shoulder, right, in all the battles and everything, and she's always like yelling advice or taking instruction, right, whatever is necessary for the scenario that they happen to be in. And so she's kind of there as a useful counterpart to him in battle, and she is. They've done a great job. I was very worried that this was going to be an issue, right? Like, her ability is unluck. She really doesn't contribute much to the fight. She's a massive vulnerability, and when I say that, I mean until pivotal moments. And then all of a sudden, she contributes everything, and she's the pivotal reason why the fight is won. But she's a huge liability, huge vulnerability, not just for herself, but also for Andy, because he's got to change his tactics to be able to defend her. If you've ever done a mission where you have to protect your companion, those are the bane of every player's existence, right? So I was a little bit concerned about whether they were going to make this believable, make it entertaining. I think they did a good job. I still have no complaints. As a matter of fact, the story even plays with that a little bit by showing an alternative possible future that doesn't happen, where it would have happened, where she doesn't survive. And that was a really good thing to do. So they make some great decisions with how they're going to use her and how they're going to present that, yeah, we know we know this is a really unlikely scenario, and here's how it probably would have gone, and all of the things that have to be done to avoid that. So, I really like that they did that. I like that they allowed her to be that vulnerable. There's also a funny moment where she shoots at one of the characters and then and actually hits him, right? And then as they're flying up to meet the character, she's saying, "No, we got to talk to him. We got to talk to him." And he's like, "Wait a minute, but you just shot him." And she's like, "Oh, well, it was in the heat of the moment." And I loved that, because basically it was that, okay, this impulsive thing that you did, which is the knee-jerk reaction that everybody's going to do, but now you're telling me not to do it, calling her out on it. It was just really good. I don't see that enough. I enjoyed it.
My big complaint about her last time was that they did a little bit of tell, not show, about her shut-in experience. I thought that it was done much better this half. The scene where they're at the school and she just gets all giddy and excited just to even be in a school. Stuff like that was good. And actually showing some of her time as a shut-in, reading her mangas. So, yeah, my biggest issue was taken care of. And again, she's the yin to the yang that makes the relationship work. Her obvious feelings for him work so well. The fact that they're a couple, it's not even up for a debate. It's not like, no, we're not dating. They recognize each other as a couple at this point. It's healthy relationship from what I see. So I really like it. Okay, so that takes care of our two main characters. But where we are in the story is Tatiana is having a battle with two minions from Unrepair, whose name is Rip. We also need to talk about him. But Tatiana's having a big battle. So let's talk about Tatiana. The girl in a giant ball.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a great example of what's kind of great about this anime, is that they've taken all these I don't know, you can't even classify them all in the same category, but she's got the of untouchable, and just this idea of anything that is attempting to get within her sphere of influence just immediately evaporates. Her story is tragic, and it's pretty well done. And also, man, her just begging to have someone end her was really heartbreaking. And to watch that turn around was really great storytelling. She's a cool asset to the team. She's basically Iron Man. but she always has to be in the suit. But yeah, I thought she contributed a lot to the story.
Yeah, she's really cool. Her power is fascinating to me, and I love the fact that they made her character design the way they did. I don't care whether she's older or not. She's got lots of hair, so I wasn't uncomfortable.
No.
But the idea that say that
I was saying I didn't feel like they were sexualizing her at all.
yeah, I did not get that impression. but the idea that she was not like nothing can be within her sphere of influence. They actually followed through with that. Nothing except herself. And just the rule of that, where the only thing that could is like when she opens her mouth to get food or water. That's really cool. This is, again, it's well thought out. You know, when you're thinking of a power set and how these rules are actually going to play and what kind of vulnerabilities that creates. We saw the same thing in the last season with Gina and how she had the ability to walk meant there was a hole underneath. That's probably the one thing I'm a little bit, I remember thinking about that now, now that I'm saying it. The one thing that I'm a little bit confused about is that she wasn't able to touch the ground or the water or anything else, yet she was able to move herself forward on it. So it must not just be inability to touch. It must be that that's also the extent of her ability to interact with her environment, which would explain why she could push at times and evaporate at other times. Maybe, unless that's not voluntary. I don't know. There's probably more there, but I'm sure the authors thought it out. That's the point I'm getting at, is every time I've had a question or a criticism so far, it turns out there's an answer. And that's pretty cool. So, yeah. As far as the character goes, she's fine. Seemed very, very anime. Like nothing unusual for me.
Your typical lolly,
Yeah.
young girl gets emotional, carries a teddy bear.
Yeah.
OP power.
Yep.
I have a nitpick. I think the armor's stupid looking. With the big giant robot necktie.
I mean,
it's just not cool. It doesn't work for me. On the flip side of that, though, it is always cool when someone's in like a power armor and they're like, no. This isn't enhancing my power. It's holding me back. And then they take it off and let it rip. That's always cool. Whether it's Goku taking off his weighted clothes, it doesn't matter. Anything that I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm limiting. I've been because in this fight the armor cracks and you're like, oh no, and she's like, no, you don't understand. That's good for me.
Yeah, you don't want this armor to crack.
You're going the wrong way with this.
I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me.
Yes, it's that mentality, but with the power. I actually thought of that line tonight when I was thinking about Tatiana. I was like, I thought of that exact line. Yeah, so she's cool. Again, she's kind of your typical lolly character. I want to touch on something though, because you mentioned her flashback. We keep getting character flashbacks, and they keep having the almost exact same tragic backstory to the point where it's just like statistically insane. And
it's like, don't be a parent of one of these guys.
Right. My theory from last episode that this is all a fictional universe. It's not working out, guys. It didn't pan out.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's not like completely disproven, but you don't do the things they're doing, especially in the second, the last arc here. There's just no way. So what I've pivoted to is that everything I was taking as text was actually subtext and as metaphor. That's really all I'll say, is that all these tragedies are important. That it's not just, I also randomly killed my parents. It's not random. I don't think it's a rule that you have to kill your parents, but I do think it is an intentional story choice that whenever someone gets their powers, it becomes a tragic backstory.
With as much as I am impressed with the way the author's handling all the little edges and tying up loose ends and everything, you could be right. It is rather glaring that every single one of them has like, oh, I stopped my parents in traffic. Oh, I blew my parents up on a train. Oh, I knocked my dad off a cliff, it looks like.
Yeah,
like
it was
every single one of them.
It was actually when Chikara the unmoving revealed his backstory. He's like, oh, by the way, I killed my parents. I was like, okay, whoa.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Third character in a row who's revealed their power origin, killed their parents. This is too much. This is something.
Yep.
I'm taking now the story as a metaphor for the creative process, that God is the author and he's making people suffer for our entertainment, and then he ends the story and starts a new story. That's where I'm at.
And if you do like that kind of idea, there's another anime you should watch. It only touches on it, but it's still good, and that's Recreators.
Yeah. Of course, that was text. That was
Yeah,
actually
that wasn't
literal.
really subtext. That was
that was
quite
literal
literal.
text. Where here it is subtext, maybe.
Yeah.
If I'm right. All right. So Tatiana, she's fighting these two. For now, randos. I'm sure they're going to be important later, but hey, they're randos. Rando guys with powers. And we get first a flashback of her when Andy and Fuko first joined the Union, picking a fight with them because they had killed Gina. She specifically blamed Andy. When they start fighting, he ends up naked, full Monty on her windshield, embarrassing her, causing her. And this is the first hint in the story of like her power isn't what you think it is. The robot suit is not the power. Because like alarms are going off and they're like evacuate the entire building. Tatiana's gonna blow. But Fuko apologizes to her. Hey, I'm actually the one responsible for Miss Gina's death. I'm very sorry. I did really like her. I want to be your friend. And this calms Tatiana down, and she forms a friendship with Fuko. Then we come back to the fight, and then she's like, okay, actually, yeah, the armor is not the power. I'm taking the armor off, and I'm blowing this cruise ship in half, and everything's getting flung around. We also get her backstory of how she killed her parents when her power activated, crushing them. And then the mafia abducted her to sell her, and then Billy rescued her with cake bars that he designed to be able to feed her cake. Because she had to eat through a tube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then she blows up the ship.
So just one thing there. Yeah, she had to eat through a tube, and because she knew that that's the only way something could get to her, is she's just like, hey, can you take your firearm? And like, that's just, it was so tragic to see a character like that young be like, this is the only spot that I've got left. And it was so heartwarming to see, not only did Billy create these long cakey bars to help her out, but like that reach out of human kindness was really endearing. Like, it was a great scene.
Because of the explosion, and now that Andy, who's carrying Fuko and Chikara, gets launched into the air, and they are able to see Rip and Latla, his partner. And Rip is on repair and the villain of this arc, who comes back in a big way. So we need to talk about him. On repair, what do you guys think of Rip?
I'm confused about his motivations, because it seems like he's constantly going, hey, we want to take control of the government until the world ends. I'm not sure how that gets him to whatever goal he has. However, he's a neat villain. His power set's interesting. But
well, he did have another goal, which was to get the Ark.
Right. But like,
that's his only goal.
That goal was somebody else's.
Maybe you guys can help. Maybe you guys can help me out, because I haven't looked up spoilers on Rip at all, and I'm not sure if it was explicitly said in the anime. So maybe it was, and I just missed it. His earrings are little vials of blood. Like, why?
Yeah, I got an idea there. I didn't look anything up, but I have a theory.
Okay, so Troy, was it explicitly said in the anime so far, or is that future content?
I don't know what the earrings are.
Okay, and then also, like, he's constantly bleeding from his right eye. Left eye? No, his right eye. Yeah.
Likes to lick it.
And he's constantly bleeding from it. So I imagine he must have injured himself, so he can't repair. That's my assumption, but it's never stated. And then he's constantly licking the blood that drips from it, and I'm like, why? What does that do for him? Is that just a tick of his? Like, and the problem is that we don't end up getting a lot of backstory, except for, oh, he was a good guy at one point, and now he's turned to be a bad guy to get to his good guy ends. but it's never expounded upon. So
Mhm.
I don't know. This character's a little frustrating in that respect. I think he would have been more sympathetic villain if we had gotten a little bit more information, but that might be coming. Who knows?
Hmm. Yeah, I think he's very much a long burn anti-hero. Um, I mean, maybe next season, maybe the season after, probably next season. Um, my theory is that that's not his blood in the vials, the earrings, because those earrings were worn by the girl that died, and that girl he seemed to care a lot about was like the sister of this Latla that's always with him. So I think that's her blood, and he's wearing them. They're probably an artifact, and he can probably use that blood to like bring her back or something, or maybe he wants to get her on the ark, and the blood is somehow important for that. Um, but I'm not sure what's going on with his eye. But we do know that he performed a surgery to help this girl, and of course she can't survive unless he dies. But I don't see how that's true either because he's able to release it. He released it on them.
No, he didn't. He died.
You think it was just because he died?
Yeah, he died. He dies.
But that's not how the orb works. The orb turns you into a younger version of yourself. You think that the orb took him back in time to when he was alive?
Yes.
And it had to go all the way back to when he was a little kid?
Yes.
It couldn't just go back a year?
They say whoever uses it is what ×5 of whatever, or something like that. I feel like they made his dead body use it so that whoever's on the other end got like a 1 year change, and then they brought him back to life as a kid.
Huh. I thought the artifact user Fang guy did it, which I was trying to figure out how is Fang still alive if he did it. He must have some other artifact that nullifies life, or they must have done it this other way, like you're suggesting, where it uses his body or something. But I don't know, because it targeted his body to age him up, so I don't know. It should still have to target his body to age him down. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm sure the authors thought about it, but I don't know the answer yet. I'd have to think about it more. I like the idea of him actually being conflicted and having a history of actually good intents, but now he's trying to reach ends that he thinks he can only reach through evil deeds. That's interesting to me. It does seem a little bit forced, at least the transition from our introduction to him to where things go eventually with him, where he's fighting alongside them, even if temporarily. But then again, I mean, we're only given a glimpse of him as an enemy from the perspective of Andy and Fuko. So as the camera shifts to his perspective and to the perspective of other people who know more about him, it does stand to reason we would see more conflict than what we saw through their eyes. So I don't know. I kind of like him as a character.
I'm a bit torn. Rip Torn as an actor. 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. No.
Stop it.
I have the one real big nitpick I have about Undead Unluck. I have two. First one, and this is the first one. I feel like the author is kind of making this up as he goes, and he's doing it well. Like, he's very creative and coming up with this really creative story, and he's doing a great job of backfilling holes he made. But I complained in the last one about how characters, like, as they're introduced and then what they are once we like fully meet them, feel desperate. The big one was Shen. Like, Shen, like, hey, go kill Gina. I don't care. And then Shen's like, I'm actually a nice guy. I just want to be friends with you guys. Kind of. It just did, and even the whole Union, they're like, oh, here's the evil group, and they tried to kill Unluck. Fuko, the first time they saw her, they're gonna hunt her for the rest of her life. Actually, we're the good guys. We're trying to save the world, and we're all friends. We're all like best friends hanging out at this table together.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
It's not. I'm being very hyperbolic.
Yeah.
But I do feel there is a disconnect from how the story started, and I do feel like the manga author started thinking this is going to be a much shorter story. That the Union's going to be the bad guys, and they're going to beat like these 10 guys, and that'll be it. And then it got successful, and he's like, it's way more interesting if the Union was this. Okay, you know what would be way more interesting? If there's quests and like rules being created and like we see galaxy being made. Wait, I already used meteors. Dang.
Yeah.
You know we will be what more interesting? And he just keeps going. And Rip in this fight, he's like, I'm gonna kill this kid because he's not useful to me, and I've already murdered lots of people. I torture people. And then the next time we meet him, I'm actually a doctor who accidentally killed the woman I loved in surgery, and now I just want to travel to the next world so I can save her in the next one. Um, and that feels disconnected, and it feels like he made Rip and was like, "Oh, this character's awesome."
Yeah.
I can't just have him be mustache twirly evil. I'm gonna add some depth, which we just don't see in this first fight. For the most part, he's doing a great job, and he's not the only manga artist to do it. Vegeta is the great example of a guy who's like, here's my mustache twirly villain. Oh, he's super popular and super awesome. I guess I'll slowly weave him into a hero character. It gets done. It's an important part of the writing process. But I just don't feel like this story is laid out with all the tracks down, especially in the beginning part. I feel like it's being made as we go, and then he, like I said, he's doing a great job of like, I'll explain this with this twist, and now everything works. But that leaves again. There's almost an emotional disconnect between what we see at the beginning of things and then later events.
It's almost like the first introduction to a character is a prototype.
Yeah. Yes.
Here's
100%.
Prototype of the character.
Which is how I felt about Rip. I really like Rip's twist. I'm really excited for the character Rip for the rest of the story. The Rip we meet in this fight is bland. Also, this fight is bland. And also, the fights in this series are a lot more bland than I thought they would be, especially after the Gina fight. The fight with Gina is in the peak battle, and that was like the second fight of this series.
Is it the art or just the way that the battles are solved?
Both.
Okay.
Like the battle with Autumn was like Autumn didn't do anything.
That's true.
It was a really creative concept, but we didn't see like all this like battling. It was just like, hey, I shoot blades at it from afar. Okay, well, what if we do it this way and we win?
One thing I would like to see anime in general start to steer away from is every large enemy has a battery of some sort of projectile, and they all fire out as if they're coming from a SAM site. Like,
Yeah.
just like, missiles. Yeah, just tons of missiles come out, and then they all swirl around, and the good guys have to get away from it. It's like, this scene is so overdone.
It belongs in a mechanical environment, I think, but elsewhere, yeah, avoid it.
I actually disagree. I love it every time.
You just want to see it. It's so pretty.
If it's bees, that whole shot of like dodging and running, doing a circle around the sky is explosions or it's always so cool looking.
For me, it's Robotech.
Yes,
it's perfect in Robotech.
It is perfect in Robotech, and yes, I do think like the missiles coming out of actual SAM sites from Veritech fighters looks better, but
100%. But like this spider creature thing opens up flaps on its side, and then all of a sudden these like bone missiles fire out of it. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
that's the best we could come up with.
I like it. It's an anime trope that I enjoy. All right, this fight though. This fight. So Andy, so because of Latla, you can't hit her. Anything that goes at her misses. So Andy like fires bullets, but he's having Chikara freeze stuff at the same time, so he's testing. Guys, I didn't like this fight. It felt weird. It
was less of a fight and more of a puzzle, right? So it was testing the limits of your abilities versus the limits of my abilities. And so because it was a puzzle, I kind of liked it. It was cool to see, like, Andy's got this vulnerability of Fuko, and now
Chikara. I didn't have a
Chikara.
You call him.
But then you've got Rip, and he's trying to protect
Latla.
But she doesn't need too much protecting until she does get hit, and then he's like, "Oh, this is a problem." And they're both it was almost like a chess match, because they were both trying to think 2 steps ahead about who's going to be where and how could we solve this issue. And I liked how how they came to resolution of Andy being behind Rip in order to stay out of the sight of Chikara. But yeah, that was my opinion.
Rip is a great enemy for Andy because he turns off the regeneration. He even points out that now that you know that doing an attack, regenerating for an attack to also repair will repair you. You can't do it anymore because now the concept to your head is that's how you repair yourself, and you're not allowed to repair yourself any damage I do. So something that worked earlier just stopped working because now it's part of the plan. And I do like the Blade Runner weapon, how it shoots giant blades everywhere every time he kicks. It's always cool to see. I guess my issue is I felt like the geography was hard to keep track of in the big black of night. Suddenly Andy's way far away, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he was.
I didn't even realize he was that far away. I thought he was closer than that.
He's like a speck on the horizon, and he manages, again, like you said, to hide in a blind spot so he can shoot while they're frozen, and hits Rip right in the heart with a bullet so powerful that actually takes him a long time to regenerate from, even if he has his healing. Because he comments, "Hey, I am healing, but it's going to take me a minute because it's hard." The big moral of the story, though, of this fight is that this is the first time Andy has fully relied on others to win. Where it's been out of his control to win, and he had to fully need other people's help. And he thinks that's sick. Wicked sick.
Wicked sick.
They have to decide what to do with Chikara. They offer him a seat at the table of the round table, but they give him a week to decide, and they're going to keep him a secret from the Union for that week. And then we see them going to his high school a week later. He has been wearing the necktie, so he's allowed to speak in English with his friends, and then he can decide what to do. And while they're out there waiting for him...
Wait a second. Didn't they say in the first half that wearing the tie means you can understand everybody, but it doesn't mean that everybody can understand you?
Don't remember. Yeah.
I was under the impression it worked both ways.
I mean, it definitely did for Chikara, but that was just one thing I'm not sure of now. If it maybe it was retro.
I'll bet you there's an explanation.
It worked for it worked for Fuko, because when she was talking with, who is she talking with? Anyways, not worth it. But I'm pretty sure that it works for Fuko as well.
Okay.
Rip comes back, and he's a child now. Andy punches him, and he's like, "No, I didn't mean to damage Fuko. I wasn't even aiming at her. Why are you even mad at me?" But he's like, "Hey, you guys want to join me? Like, you can join my group. You don't have to be in the Union." And they tell him that's dumb. And he gives them a gift of a gun, but it's actually an artifact. And we have heard mention of the artifacts driving you crazy, but we get to see why for the first time. He throws it at Fuko, and she gets to witness Ragnarok in person. When you touch an artifact, you see flashes of the past, and this gun shows her Ragnarok. And he's like, with that gun, you can see God, which is just a big black silhouette in the sky as the world is burning.
Didn't it also show her flashes of Victor?
Probably, or that could be later when
Yeah, I don't know which
Apocalypse.
memories came from Apocalypse, which one from the gun now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is where he mentions we're going on to the next one. Guys, if you didn't know by now, Jeremy was right. it's a loop. It's a time loop.
It's a loop.
It's not a
Yay!
time loop.
Loops are cool.
Basically is.
No,
It's
no.
a reality loop.
Time continues on. It's just that the Earth
creation
is
loop.
destroyed and then recreated.
But the
It's
same
new heavens and a new
but the
earth.
same people come back.
Right, but it's not. They didn't go back in time.
I mean, what's the difference to them?
Because they have all the memories from
I mean,
the past.
to Juice and Victor, it's a time loop.
I disagree.
Yeah. Well, for all intents and purposes, it is. Like, I can understand what you're saying, Troy, because
I can as well. Go ahead.
it's a linear loop.
Right.
Like,
you're right.
It is a loop, but it's happening on another time scale that's above
because
it.
the
Like,
previous
it's
iterations
stretched out and late on that.
You're right. The previous iterations did happen. It's not like they got erased and you went and overwrite them. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's not.
So it's not a time loop.
From a character
Well,
point of view, it functions
it's still
as a
not a
time
time
loop narratively.
Well, number one, they call it a loop. But
They
number
call it a
two,
loop.
they do call it a loop. But number two, it's a reset, I would say, is a fair term, where essentially you take everything back to the previous state, but then you apply it at the end of the current state. And so you keep both states, and you just keep doing that because God can create. So you don't
Right,
have
but if I were to draw a timeline and like this point on the timeline, Earth is destroyed and then Earth is created.
Mm-hmm.
Earth is created is not behind. It's over
Yeah,
here.
but
So
picture
it's
a
not.
slinky. It's a slinky. It's a slinky. It's
So-
not just like
Oh
a
my
rubber
gosh.
band. It's a
I'm
slinky.
so sorry.
You stretch it out,
It's
and then you pull the slinky to the side on the time, and now you have the loop as it makes
it's still
slinky all the
no.
way across.
You draw 2
Incorrect.
points 2 points on a piece of paper and you fold it together and then you punch the pencil through and you have explained
Yes.
wormhole travel in every movie ever made.
I mean, the fact that they can actually go into their memories and reprogram themselves for like 140 years by accessing memories and not by going back in time means that like time is weird here and how it affects characters is weird. God plays weird tricks in this world.
not a time loop.
Not a technical time loop.
Okay,
That's
here we go.
right.
Narrative time.
Comment section, please tell them how much are wrong.
I'm agreeing with you.
It's a time slinky.
Let's move on.
I don't. Why is time going down the stairs, Jeremy? That doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
It's a ramp. It wouldn't work with stairs. It's got to be a ramp because it's got to be a line.
All right.
It rolls downstairs and
Rip-
over there.
Rip leaves. Oh, his group is called Under because everything is called Un. His group is called.
Oh,
Under.
and you were right about that. You knew
Yeah,
it was going to be an
Well, no, it actually said that. It
Sure.
said UN, and then there was a blank. So you knew it's.
But-
But I was trying to guess the name, and I didn't come up.
But
with
what's a dir?
Under.
You have,
a-
you have justice and injustice. And then you,
What's
like,
what's
touch
an
it
what
all.
about-
ion?
Yeah, what's an union?
No,
Union?
what's an ion? I really don't know. I didn't pay attention.
No, no, onion. It's a root vegetable that grows in the ground. It's got layers, kind of like a time loop.
I
Anyways.
thought those were knights. Onion knights.
Onion.
Oh,
Only in
that's
Final Fantasy.
We apologize for that weird thing that just happened.
Don't talk for me.
It's been enough drinking, we swear.
They go inside the school. Okay, Jakara decides to join them. Okay, there's
Yeah.
some really fun scenes in the school. You know, Fuko's all excited. She gets tickled. Someone calls Andy old. She thinks it's
The
hilarious.
tickle was great.
Tickle's great.
Yep.
Again, their couple scenes are just
So
great.
there is one thing I'd like to point out is that he asks that they do the whole memory wipe thing. Man, that hit hard. Like you've seen Men in Black or other variations of this, watching his best friend just completely lose all memory of him, and then like basically his friend died in front of him without actually dying, and at least that's kind of how it felt. And man, that hit hard. That was a good scene.
Well, I mean, if you work with the philosophy that the show is telling you to consider, where like you live as long as people remember you, then yeah, he died to a lot of people that day.
Huh. That I get what you're saying, but I also don't feel like the show was saying that's like fact.
I don't think the show cared about it.
Right.
I think it's just like an aside.
Right.
I don't think they were saying, "Hey, Chikara just died." I think it was more of a sadness
You're right.
on his part. That's the only point I was bringing up.
Fuko asked to fight. A month passes, and we're back at the round table, and Apocalypse is opening up. Any thoughts on
Quest the
Chewies
one.
or any of the other union members?
Billy, yeah, I'm really suspicious of him. He seems like he maybe isn't trustworthy.
Subtle.
Also, he is blind.
He is blind. Another good call. Yes,
No, guys, there's someone wearing sunglasses inside. They're
it's obvious.
trying to tell you they're blind. Usually, like 90% of the time. Okay. Gotta move forward. New quest.
Oh, I got one thing to say. That is that the difference in the characters was really cool to see, right? This is the second time they've sat down at the table to hear the quests that are coming up. And the first time it happened, you know, there was a bunch of protest and we saw Fuko and Andy both being obnoxious. Now we just get like both of their eyes in the most determined, focused. They just look like everybody else now.
They're on board,
Like,
yeah.
They're on board. They went through oh, my mind's blanking. What's it called when you're introduced to a new group or something and you go through some kind of hazing ritual? They went through it.
Initiation.
Thank you. Yes, they went through the initiation. They have suffered the pains, and now they're like, "Yep, let's go. This sucks. We're here for it."
For quest, basically, a UMA for each season needs to be either killed or captured, and I don't remember any of the rewards, but the punishment would be revolution. And Billy's like,
You don't remember there was one reward that was interesting. Unchange. So Gina's dead.
right, Gina,
It's
yeah,
the person who inherited her power.
I did notice that. Right, yep.
Yeah.
The punishment revolution, and then Billy's like, guys, this is easy. Two or three of those, I can't remember. He's like, hey, we don't have to capture him. We can just kill him. Nuke him. We'll just nuclear bomb him. And everyone's like, but people? He's like, nah, nuclear bomb him. Also, I'm attacking you. Like, it's so weird that he just throws out this like random bad opinion. Everyone's like, I don't like that opinion. He's like, okay, well, this is the time to reveal I'm a traitor.
Right.
Bang, 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 bang.
This was so weird. And then when I thought at first that, you know, oh, he was just, you know, this is what they do. The last time everybody sat down, Andy did this, like punched out at everybody. So maybe like somebody always has an outburst with every single one. But then one of them actually appears to get mortally wounded, and he's like, oh, did I bump off Unbreakable? Good job. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is not the Billy that we didn't really know anything about him, but I never got this impression.
You knew he was blind, though.
Is it hot in here?
And cake bars. We knew he made cake bars. So yeah, Tatiana's freaking out. Unbreakable is shot.
Long cake bars.
Top kicks Billy so hard his neck snaps and murders him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Billy gets up and keeps going. And then Burn, who's a giant fire Uma, steals the table, and Billy's like, "Hey, I'm the boss of." I already forgot their name.
Under.
Under. The boss of Under, Rip, is here. And we're taking the table. We're taking Apocalypse. Bye. And Tatiana's like, I'm upset. And he's like, I don't care.
This is
Mhm.
this is probably the weakest part of the entire
Yep.
story because his goal is to kill God. He's literally in the organization that has the stated purpose that they're going to go kill God.
Right,
But they
I
have a
get his
difference of policy?
He
Well,
wants the arc.
Sure, but if they're going to kill God, why would they need the Ark?
because he can't kill. He doesn't have time to kill God yet. He needs another revolution, another loop.
I didn't quite get his.
He's
reasoning.
basically saying Jewies is too weak and too soft to get this done, and it's taking too long. I can get this done. Well, it goes back to the why are we caring about dropping nukes on people in a world that's about to end? Like
Mhm.
why are
Right,
you
right.
why are you considering the greater good when or not the greatest good, which is just win. We need to win.
Mhm.
And
Sometimes survival's ugly.
so it's a mutiny of
Mhm.
a difference in how they should be doing this. So I understood the betrayal. I'm not a huge fan, especially these powers are so cool, and then the writer's just like, yeah, but what about a guy who copies powers? And everyone
Yeah.
has a guy who copies powers.
But
There's always a
what? But how do you justify an power that copies?
Unfair.
Because
unfair. Yeah, he's gonna be
it's
unfair. He kept saying it's so unfair. It's like, oh, so your power is unfair, right?
Yeah.
But, or was it unbelievable?
But
That's
he told
what
everyone
she
it's
thought it
unbelievable.
was.
And I have
Mhm.
a feeling he was using unfair to copy unbelievable and make everyone think unbelievable was his power, but his real power
Mhm.
is unfair, which is I get all the powers.
Which means he's also not blind.
Yeah, he took off the glasses. He can see.
Right.
Mhm.
You know what that means? If the glasses come off.
Which is just really weird because did unbelievable come with the side effect of being blind? Or was he
So-
just never blind?
I assumed he was lying, except for Tatiana's like, you're wearing your spurs, which he uses as like a echolocation.
Echolocation, yeah.
So why would he wear the spurs if he wasn't really blind? So I do think there is another layer to what's going on here.
Yeah.
As far as, is this really Billy, or is there two halves of Billy? Is there two Billies? I don't know what's going on.
If there's two Billies and two Andys, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, we already have the two. Back off, man. It's been taken.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, and I also find this to be one of the most weird moments in this one. Like it came out of nowhere, and at first I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I'm shocked. They already lost Unbreakable, and then they lost Billy too because he got his neck snapped. But then when he woke up and healed himself and started moving fast and getting all their powers, I was like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. No. Just because Billy really, you didn't get to know anything about him. I mean,
Yeah.
like the last thing I said about him was, I don't understand why he's in the third spot. He doesn't seem that impressive. And now he's able to defeat all of them. It's just, yeah. I didn't like this at all.
I do think we definitely needed an arc with Billy.
Mhm.
Like this would almost fit Shen better with the time we spent with Shen. Like if Shen had betrayed of like, this is what I need to become the greatest, so I'm backstabbing you, I would be like, oh, okay, that kind of fits with everything I know about
Established
Shen.
motivation.
Okay, so if I have one big criticism of this this core, there was a criminal lack of Shen in this side.
I agree.
Like, where was he? I'm so upset.
Yes.
He's whining on the phone again in the
He
background.
was trying to rip his suit off. Like, let me go fight.
Yeah, that's right. No, he was so hot.
In tears
I'm so
while
hot.
he's like,
I'm so hot.
I'm just gonna go work out.
Oh God, yes,
Yeah,
that was
that's
great
good
too. Yeah.
All right, back to the Billy betrayal. So, because this build room is like 100 stories deep, they They start flying the table out. Andy and Fuko go after him while the doctor is doing surgery on everyone instantly. I did like the showcase of like Nico's scientist and how they have traps set up and freezing.
Yeah.
Um,
I also really just enjoy his scientists. They crack me up. Like he's got this absolute dork girl, and then like this guy that's super reserved and cautious, but he's never the one in charge.
Right. Andy and Fuko get up there. Andy's able to use some unluck to go inside of Burn and shock him, and then the scientists freeze him and spike him. I do like the scene where Billy gets killed and is like, "Oh, this still hurts." I kind of assumed it didn't, and I was like, "Come on, man! Haven't you ever read Wolverine? Of course it hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts every time." Okay. He uses Unjustice, which is Juiz's power, on Fuko, which makes her jump off because her justice is I want to survive, and thus so Fuko jumps to her death, and Andy has to go save her. Tatiana catches him. They all go up to the surface, and Tatiana goes to attack him, and he uses Unjustice on her, and she's still able to attack him. And he says, "Oh, I see." And then right before that, we'd had Juiz being like, "Do you have feelings for Billy? I need to know." What that means is attacking him wasn't a sense of justice; it was out of love.
Mhm.
So Unjustice doesn't work on her.
No, it's not that it didn't work. It went backwards.
Yep.
So basically, she did not want to hurt him because she loves him. He used Unjustice on her, so she ended up expanding her bubble.
Yep, I got that right away. I also understand.
Made perfect sense.
Narrative.
Right on top of that, nothing gets past you.
Billy was blind the whole time.
You caught the subtext though.
All right, so Fuko grabs onto Apocalypse, gets shocked by flashback visions that he attacks her with. She put a gun in his mouth. Like, I'm taking the book. Unchanged gravity. Shen shows up on the flying Nimbus.
Yes. And he's like, I can't believe you can stand on this. I can't believe you can use this. What are you trying to say?
Yeah, Andy's like, "Oh, I wouldn't think you'd be able to write on that." And Shen's like, "What does that mean?"
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, okay, so again, another fictional item that people recognize as the fictional item, and it's in this world. But don't worry, I was wrong. I'm fine with that. Billy and Under get away with the table, but they leave behind Apocalypse, and he says it doesn't matter because I'm going to get to the Ark first. And he leaves.
Meaning that Union is not in possession of the Ark, is that right?
I think the Ark only unlocks after the last penalty is given. Like right before.
No idea what the Ark is.
It's obviously a box you get in to survive.
Well, yeah, I mean, think of it as the cataclysm, right? You get in the Ark, you survive the cataclysm.
But the question is like, does it have any more other powers? So because Juiz obviously is not as old as she looks. She's obviously much older.
However, I assume if you use the Ark, your aging ends.
Yeah, does the Ark prevent you from aging or de-age you?
Well, considering the age that we're told Victor is later, she should be 100 million years old.
So when...
Or does the Ark only preserve your memories and implant them into the next version of yourself in the new world? Who knows?
Ooh, maybe that one.
I like that. That would be because one of the issues I was having was, are there two of you? You know, if you ride the Ark and you show up in this other world, are there two of you? Are you just immortal? But if it just does that, where it injects you into the version of you that would have appeared here, that's pretty cool. Let's solve that.
I don't think so. I'm trying to think back to the flashback. There's Juiz and Victor, and there's only 2 seats at the table. That means she has to be even older than like Gina. She doesn't seem to be older than Gina.
I think the 2 seats at the table was the first, like one of the early worlds. And I think they must have like expanded the table fast. Although I guess maybe each time it would start with 1 seat, then 2 seats, then 3.
Maybe.
I don't know. Later iterations of the world maybe started with 7 or 8 or 10.
It's hard to know because I'm pretty sure this is Andy's first loop.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Okay. Anyway, Julius calls for a meeting. And she says, "Hey, everyone, I need you to know that Jeremy's theory was right and Troy's was not. And that's okay."
A broken clock is right twice a day.
A day.
Great. I'm stuck all day thinking about that one.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the world is
that
in
a time loop?
Feed a man fish.
And she's
day
been writing
forever.
the arc.
Will be fed.
Stop it. She's been writing the arc to go from loop to loop, and the only other one who travels from loop to loop is Victor because he doesn't die when God destroys the world and thus is still around by the time the world comes. A new world is made.
There's literally a shot of him like on the moon and just like looking off into a dark expanse.
Yep. And he's like, okay, so nothing. Not even God destroying the world can kill me. Great.
Also, she knows where a very secret mole is on Andy's body.
Oh boy, does this upset Fuko.
I love this. Her like,
Yeah, it's so great.
Oh, and Andy's like, it wasn't me. She's like, ah. Great scene. But yes, Julius and Victor were in a relationship. Previous loops. She apologized to everyone for not telling them the truth. And they all forgive her and say, let's get this mission done. We're all in. So she gives Fuko and Andy, they make a stone table. It's good enough. And she sends Fuko and Andy, she wants them to do research on a book. And she pulls out a book. And then the episode ends. But guess what the book is, guys? It's the shoujo manga that Fuko's been reading. And she points out, hey, remember this arc? Isn't that similar to what happened when the aliens showed up? Remember this? Isn't that similar to this plot point when you fought Spoil? The shoujo manga has been predicting all of the events of their real life, except for Billy's betrayal and another battle they had. So they're clearly missing stories.
And also like how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
This
I'm not sure whether I like or dislike the fact that this manga was used this way, because yeah, it did mention the manga before, but at the same time, it was mentioned very casually. Like, oh, yep, she finished reading the manga. That's cool. Oh, I waited while you were sick or while you were healing up. I read the whole thing and it wasn't so bad. But I never saw anything to indicate that there were any parallels. I think it could have been good to give a glimpse here or there or some kind of clue. I don't know. It just kind of.
I mean, they did in the very first
weird.
episode.
Did they? What was the clue there?
We didn't have the context, and I don't think it matches events so far. But
You're
it was
talking about
clear
the world being destroyed.
But it was clear imagery of like showing, like that this is important, and yeah, like world ending.
You got a point
stuff.
there. I think that's fair. Okay, yeah, I take it back because it also had a guy and a girl together at the end of the world. And yeah, that's probably Andy and. Well, remember how when it started and we were like, "What the heck?"
I do remember this. This is my issue with this guy, with the writer.
Yeah.
Again. So yeah, at the very first episode, there's an image of a boy and a girl in a apocalypse city finding true love.
Mm-hmm.
Except for in this story, Fuko is supposed to die.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't be in the end chapter. That's not what he foresaw. So he wouldn't have thrown that into the manga.
That's true.
That doesn't actually line up. This is a retcon.
Unless that's what he wanted.
Maybe, but this feels like a retcon of I was doing one thing. This is way more interesting. No one's gonna notice.
But and also, not the whole manga wasn't all prophecy. You know, there was obviously some in there that wasn't.
The first chapter. The first chapter, or the original submission was just him submitting a manga, and it was once he realized that people could see it, he's like, okay, I'm gonna use this as a tool.
I'll weave it in. Mm-hmm.
But I nothing I saw in the first episode makes me think that this was planned when they showed those opening scenes.
Frankly, I'd forgotten about them until you brought them up, Jason.
Anyway, they have to find the raw manuscript and the author, and to do so, they're gonna make their own manga. Don't worry, Andy's dabbled. And
But
I did-
Fuko will be in charge, and she will have assistants. So we're now entering a manga artist and her assistants. Yay!
She didn't once steal anyone's underwear. It was amazing.
I know.
Right.
The best parts were missing.
And they all have multiple arm backpacks to help them work faster, which
That's
is hilarious. I love.
And they're drinking
I love that
Dead
they put
Bull.
these on. Right.
There's so many great points. There's Shen, who's
Oh,
I
God.
want to help. You just go work out.
Yeah. With your power, you're just going to be a problem in here.
There's when she gets the mechanical arm backpack. The first thing it does is rip off Andy's sensor flap.
This is what brainwaves are saying to do.
Right? I was like, yeah,
Yes.
get some Fuko. But also like that Tatiana, who uses the very same thing for her robot, being the one to train her on it. That actually like, oh, that lines up really well. Yeah, the drinking. A great scene. Juez comes to help, and then she's drawing Victor's perfectly chiseled body, and Fuko gets all jealous and upset and passes out from it. Just great stuff. Also, the big thing though is Fuko has to write a story for the manga, and she chooses to write her love story. Both some helping her understand her feelings for Andy, and she calls it Undead Unluck. And this is when my theory fell apart, because it can't be a fictional world if they're also making their fictional world in the fictional world. There's too many levels. It's too Inception-y. It falls apart. My dreams went out the door. I love everything they did, but
Unluck within unluck within unluck within unluck.
yeah.
Unluckception.
But yeah, so they make Undead Unluck, and they take it to the publisher.
The plus is silent.
Yeah.
Also, this is great. Of like, some of your character designs aren't that great, and lines are bad. Like the poor.
The
mangaka
art's
was-
kind of old.
Yeah, really smacking himself over the head. But yeah, gets in the door because of how good it is, even though it is not perfect, as it's pointed out. Fuko asked if she can see. What was it called? From Me to You is the name of Ano's manga. And she can see the raw manuscript, and she's like, "Yeah, we usually keep everything digital, so this will be a nice treat to get to pull out the raw manuscript." Oh, weird! It's in Japanese. Okay, so they know it definitely is a negator power. This manga, and they get this lady to call Ano, and Fuko is even able to get on the phone, and Ano's like, "I will meet you."
Hmm?
And then, yeah,
Hmm?
Andy just comes in the room suddenly and is like eyeballing the lady, like, let her have what she wants.
Yep.
Randomly.
Such a bully.
At the end of this episode, a note flashes on screen that Fuko's memories of the publisher HQ were erased.
No, I think their memories of her were erased.
Oh, okay. That made more sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
We get, guys, this episode freaked me out because I started the episode and we see them fighting Autumn, and suddenly Fuko gets killed, and I'm like, I missed something. Is there an end credit scene where the battle started that I missed? I went back to the other episode and rewatched the end credits. Nope, it's just a vision of the flash forward that got me. And this is done by our character Ano Un, whose real name is Akira, and a major character for this last arc. What do you guys think of Ano?
This is probably one of the more interesting characters as far as power set and just background story I think I've seen in a while. We do a longer flashback with this character, and I'm really glad they did. I'm glad that they took the time to just kind of flesh this character out. Another tragic story, except he didn't kill his mom, so I mean, props to that.
Yep.
But he ends up picking up this artifact pen, which transfers unknown to him, and so
Actually, no, the pen does not give him unknown. He just happens to get unknown at the exact same time.
same time as picking up the pen. That's right.
He's really unlucky.
Yeah. And so now can't touch or interact with anyone in the world. And man, that's just like, talk about loneliness driving you insane. But it was interesting that watching or knowing what was going to happen, and that was through the pen, right?
Yeah, the pen
Yeah.
showed him everything about the loops and the whole plot.
Which drove him to be like, hey, I need to do my part. Very Helldivers. No, but, I'm doing my part. And I love that he's able to draw like one object at a time to exist in reality. So like he draws a car in the air and then a car appears, like a tiny toy car. And so in order to interact with the world, he just draws himself, but a little bit different in order to get around the rules of being unknown, with a different name. And Jeremy, you brought out a good point earlier in pre-show that even though he can now kind of interact with the world, he's still just watching his clone interact with the world. And it's just sad again. It's
Also,
like
the flashback of the clone getting to the mom too late.
Yes.
Too late by the time he got to... Because this little kid watching his mom call the police, where's my son? Where... losing it, as you would as a parent, and having to just witness that, and then finally figures out the solution to let his mom know he's okay, and it's a day too late.
Yep.
Literally on her deathbed.
But as far as the clone that we interact with and like just this whole idea of this character, outstanding. Like very original thought that like I don't think I've seen anything like this in anime before, so this was really cool to see. And I liked the self-sacrificing nature of this person, even though they had every reason to basically become a villain. So
yeah, and it was so fascinating to see. Wow, I had a different thought, but I love the powers. It was that's what I was thinking. It was fascinating the way that this was brought to us, right? Like it was parceled out bit by bit, and I loved that. The way that, the character slices his arm off at one point but doesn't bleed, and then uses the other hand to draw a different arm.
Or show pain.
Yeah. And puts it on. Fuko binds the arm, which, you would expect on a regular person, but it doesn't really seem to matter. And
I think is when Unrepair took the other arm, and like he wasn't freaked out at all. He was just like, okay.
That's like, where you were like,
Unrepair got you. You're dying now. That's a death sentence. And he's like,
he didn't care.
I don't need a second arm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was so cool though, because it was we still didn't have a clue that this was a clone.
Right.
This, as far as I was concerned, this was a person. And so I kept thinking, is this God? Like, where is God during all of this time, right? God's got to be watching. Yeah, and I was like, it would be so cool if this character was God and God's meddling with this. He does have some kind of end objective, some goal, and he's not meeting it. And so that's why he's coldly destroying everything and starting again, because it's all just a big experiment and he's not getting the results that he's after. And sometimes he goes down and meddles with it. I had all these ideas playing through my head, and I was like, this is so cool, this is so cool. But what they chose to do with this character, I'm impressed to say, I was just as pleased with that. This was great. I did not feel let down or annoyed that they went a route that was, tropey or trite. It wasn't. It was very unique. It was very unpredictable, but it made a lot of sense once we saw the whole story. It was really cool. And man, tragic. So tragic.
I'm a big fan of Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, and it's the only time I've ever seen this done. I do believe Anno Un is a self-insert for the actual manga artist, right? He's like, hey, I'm a part of the story too, but with this fictional character. Stephen King actually put himself in his own books of like, so the heroes need my help, and I have to write the books so they can get to the ending, and so the bad guys are trying to kill me to keep the books from being written. But yeah, it's a really cool meta thing to have this manga artist who's literally writing the story. We have the story of Undead Unluck being like written like 3 times in this world.
Yeah.
So the stuff I was picking up on was there. It just threw me to the wrong theory. But yeah, I really like the character. Now I am. You guys tell me if I should edit this out, but I'm going to tell you a spoiler, because when I did look up the name of the pen, I saw this spoiler because it is not a coincidence that they got the power at the exact same time they picked up the pen.
Oh, really?
It was God saying, "Well, that's not fun if you know the whole plot."
You're going to be unknown.
Oh,
now.
that's messed up.
God's mean.
That's fascinating. So God does metal.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I like the story even more now. To have an
I say leave it
active. I say leave it in too. Yeah. To have an active God being an active player in this that we're not even aware of until later. Oh, I like that.
I am super. I don't know a lot of spoilers. I just saw a little bit. I am super interested in what God's motives are. Is this just fun, or like you said, is there some kind of goal that they're trying to get to? Because we keep meeting characters who are villains and then finding out they're not villains. Are they going to do that with God too?
Probably.
But then, yeah, I have no idea where this is going, I guess is my biggest thing. All right. We covered a lot. They go to the park. They go to Canada to meet Ano. And they go to the park where the park is just randomly turning into autumn, even though it said it was in December, like early December. And I'm like, well, that seems fine. Autumn in early December, close enough.
But when they zoom out, it's just that part.
Yeah,
of the
it's
park.
just the park.
Oh, we should also mention Ano Un is the name that's used by this artist, and I at least this is what it seemed like to me, that stands for anonymous, unknown.
Right, but they also broke it down to unknown. Yeah,
it's like another way of saying unknown, anonymous,
right.
Unknown.
Yes. Ano shows up while they're eating. Another reason I love Andy is he's so world traveled that he's like, hey, we're in Canada, I'm gonna get poutine. Like, you know, you go to Canada, you get poutine.
Right.
You don't see other anime characters do that. You see Andy be like, hey, you gotta try poutine, we're in Canada, this is the place you try it.
Yeah.
Did you say you looked it up?
I did.
You never have.
It's just French fries with cheese curds and gravy.
And gravy, yeah.
I've never heheard of it. Never had it. It seems really interesting.
I mean, if you look delicious. At me, people know I know what poutine is. French fries with gravy and cheese curds. They can can it. All right. Ano shows up, sneaks up on him because not really there, right? So.
And this surprises Andy because he's like, people don't sneak up on me.
Yeah. And then what I love about this whole scene is because Autumn starts attacking at the same time, and so Fuku's like, we got Autumn, and they start fighting Autumn, and Ano's like, no, come with me. You guys need a training arc, don't you understand? I'm like, oh, this is so meta. And the training arc is by using Autumn's power, because he can just draw his claw. Which is, again, if Autumn hits people, it turns them into a book.
That's so cool.
And then it reads the book,
and it reads
and
them,
eats it.
Yeah.
And decides if it's a good story or not.
Yeah, that's how it powers up.
But they turn Andy into a book that reaches all the way to space. It's so long. And then he uses a soul caliber.
It's an artifact, yeah.
I know it's an artifact based on the game. Because everything's named after. So, again, which is why I looked up G-Liner. I was like, what is that named after? And I still don't know. Takes out Fuko's soul and throws it into the book, where she ends up in post-Civil War Wild Wild West Nevada, because they're in the town of Longing, the same town from the UMA spoil battle with the zombies. Which is funny because the lady who portrays them is wearing the same or very similar apron as to zombie teacher bride from part 1.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I think Andy. I don't know if Andy noticed either. Because I don't remember any scene of Andy like looking at 3 graves while he was in Longing, and you think he would have. But again, I feel like it's fully planned out. Anyway, she meets Cowboy Andy very recently, having got amnesia and become the person who will eventually be named Andy. And his crew is like, we don't trust you. And they take her back to the tavern where they have drinks and food for saving the town's children. And he throws a gun at her. He's like, do Russian roulette with a bullet. And she's like, click, 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 click. He's like, they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, it's Andy. He's not going to put a bullet in a gun and make someone put it to their head. I know him. This is my boyfriend. Okay, you don't understand.
Yeah. Get away from my boyfriend.
Also mentions you're always naked. He's like, I wouldn't do that. I'm serious, Andy now. And then bad guys run in and shoot them all. Andy in the head. All the crew die except for Fuko, who gets saved by one of the crew members jumping on her. Andy revives. This is the first time he's been killed and comes back to life because he didn't even realize. He knew he healed well, but he didn't know he was immortal. And he goes out with 2 axes and brutally murders the killers.
And then he's like, yeah, melee makes sense.
Yeah, I should be a melee fighter because I can't get hurt. So then he buries his friends. He tells the lady, hey, every time this year you got to pour a drink on them. And anytime this company makes a new drink, which is the Budweiser company, you got to pour it on them. And then
on the nose.
Him and Fuko joins him for, she's like, it's a long time. I know it's 10 years. I was building it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
Hey, I did a quick search for G-liner pen, and glitter pen kept coming up. So I don't know if it's English or not. Like glitter.
Right? No, but it needs to be a fictional. It needs to be something from fiction.
Our world would be fiction to them.
No. Troy, can we continue?
How did you make me this mad twice in a row so fast? All right, guys. Yeah, Cowboy, and it was 10 years, but she does state it was more like a dream. So I don't think it's like fully 10 years, but it basically travels with Andy for 10 years. To the point where like we see them 10 years later, he has a new crew. She's the new initiation is you have to touch unluck. Fuko has to touch you and have some unluck. One guy gets his chair broken because she likes him more because he doesn't stare at her boobs, while the other guy just spills his beer on himself because he's always staring at her boobs. Anyway, she goes out and she has this heart to heart with Andy. Like one of the first times he's opened up to her in these 10 years, and he asks her what she thinks death is, because he says, to me, it's when the brain stops working. She says, no, to me, it's more than that. It's, because my parents died because of me, but I feel like they're still with me because I remember them. And Jason, this is a really big scene for you that you called out, so I'll let you expand on it a little more how much you want.
Not too much. I just like kind of what you said. I really liked because it kind of changed his perspective on the idea of death and being able to kind of move past the sadness of it and like hold on to those memories. But it also changed his perception of, well, if the brain stops thinking that's not death, perhaps something else is going on. And then later on, we come to find out Victor has a very similar line of thinking that, that I don't believe in the soul. But then, Andy's able to use that to his advantage later on, which we'll get to. But
hold up. Yeah, make your point. Just don't go into Victor yet.
That's why I stopped there, because that's going to get into future events. But what I'm saying is this conversation is what stems that thought process throughout the next couple episodes.
And I am gonna explain.
And it makes him smile for the first time.
Makes him smile. God, I love this. I love the ending. And he's like, "Hey, kiss me." She's like, "Wait, I'm in love with real Andy, and it just feels weird to kiss you." And she's like, "Wait, did I just say I'm in love with Andy?" And he's like, "Yeah, you did." and she starts teleporting away because he tells her like 1815 Washington D.C. was my first memory, so she starts teleporting to that. But she tells him, "Hey, you're gonna meet me in Tokyo on August 20th in 2020. I'm gonna run away, but chase me, and I'll give you a kiss." And I went to my daughter. I'm like, "Does time travel consent count?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, that's fair. I just needed to check." Just kidding. What?
Well, I just wanted to weigh in really quick on. I'm not done. I wanted to weigh in really quick on the when does life end and how that came across to me. It's really interesting because it's like there's the active and there's the passive, right? There's the primary ability to consciously affect reality, which is what he's focused on, whereas with her it's like the ripple effect, the secondary effect. As long as you're remembered, you're still alive to somebody else, right? You could see that as like, yeah, a butterfly effect of your existence and how it ripples through everything else. And from a purely like cold analytical perspective, I definitely have to side with Andy's old view of it, just in the sense of like, if you aren't physically able to consciously affect the world around you, I wouldn't think that I'd be able to reconstruct my body at that point, if that was my power set, right? But him being able to shift that perspective, it's fascinating because it does mean that at least in that world, it is not limited to the physical constructs, right? They have a soul. He even starts talking about it, and he's like, "I put my soul in my finger and launched that at you."
You're actually wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2 things come from this conversation.
Sure.
Andy believes that death does not require the brain, so now he can regenerate from any part of his body fully.
Mhm.
2, Andy now believes in souls, so now he can put his soul into his fingers. That does not mean in this world souls exist or that is what death is. All that matters is that's how Andy understands it. So that changes because we're told your powers are based on your concept of the powers.
Mm-hmm.
So by having this conversation and changing his worldview of death, Andy now gets upgraded powers.
Well, actually, no. We're not told that it's based on your understanding. What we're told is that your understanding will limit you more than the rules themselves. So you may be limiting yourself in a way that the rule doesn't. You just have to figure out where you're constraining yourself and where there's loopholes that you can take advantage of.
No, because this isn't saying souls exist. It just Andy believes souls exist.
Oh,
so
sure.
His power works as if there is a soul.
But so a counterpoint to that is the unluck targeting.
Yeah, right? It has to target something.
And if we're going to assume that, skin to skin touch activates the unluck, well, what's the unluck targeting when Andy splits into multiple pieces? And if he says, "Oh, I put my soul into the finger," and then the unluck targets that finger, does that mean? But of course, then the question becomes, can Andy split his soul into 4 pieces?
If Andy believes he can, he can.
I think his power set would let him do that. Like, I could totally see the author being like, "I divided my soul into 4 pieces and put a quarter of it in each." I could totally see him justifying that, just as writing it as part of what he could do. As far as whether or not other people are like Andy, but the fact that they can't regenerate their bodies means that it's inconsequential and not something you can prove. Means I don't think that you can prove or disprove whether they have souls, but I do think Andy, at least he's calling it a soul, but it's like an essence of where the part of him that gets cursed by unluck is, like Jason was saying.
I can't prove it at all, but there is a very important scene that to me kind of reinforces where I'm coming from, and it's the scene with Victor at the very start of the next episode. We see Victor and Juez, who freakishly has the exact same haircut as Fuko. And I'm like, okay, Andy, you have a type. I bet you cut that hair. Almost like I'm like, wait, is this like a reincarnation thing? It was so weird how much she looked like Fuko in that screenshot. But
and attitude wise too.
She's like, hey, do you believe in the soul? And this is clearly shown like
no, she didn't. She said, do you believe in reincarnation?
Right, and then he's like, I don't believe in souls.
No, in the sub, I don't remember him saying I don't believe in souls. I remember him saying no, I don't believe in that.
I watched sub. I thought I saw souls.
I thought
really?
At this point, I was sub.
Okay, I could have missed it.
That's right.
Maybe he did say
Sub
so.
stops at 18, right?
Yes, currently. It might even be 19 by the time record is. He could even be 20 by the time this airs. But there's a reason the scene is shown. This is being shown to show us when Victor upgraded his powers. Before this scene, Victor's powers were the same as Andy's up to this point. And because of what Juez says to him about, I would always remember you, I'd always find you, his definition of a soul changes, and Victor gets upgraded into this, I can create 5 copies of myself.
Are you sure that this was a pivotal moment where it changed?
No. This is presumption. I'm saying that is the reason the anime took the time to show us this scene of them having this very quick conversation.
You could be right. And
then we get a flash of her with the card about to shove it into Victor's head.
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking about that scene. I'm like, why bother with it? Why show us that Victor doesn't believe in the thing that Andy now believes in, which upgraded Andy? And the only thing I come up with is they're telling us this is how Victor got as powerful as he did. This is when his understanding of death changed because of Juez. All right. That's just, again, my theory. So far, Jeremy's right about everything. So, grain of salt.
I mean, it sounds like it makes sense. I just really want to check the dialogue now.
Victor, actually, just like the scene. There's a scene somewhere here. Sorry, I need to call this out because we talked about flashbacks and set up for the scene. There's a scene where they go back. They show the longing spoil fight for like 10 minutes in the middle of the episode, and I'm like, we remember. You didn't need to show.
I watched this episode already.
Yeah, the zombie bride lady running, getting touched and running through the sunflowers, and I'm like, no, I watched. I know, I get it. Anyway. Oh, does the fact that Ano Un is the narrator of the entire series help at all with the long narration recaps?
No.
That it's a character choice and not a story choice.
I skipped through them.
Oh, it's Ano. Ano even says they meet me and like, Ano is telling us the story of Undead Unluck. That is who the narrator
that's pretty
is.
cool.
Infuriating.
Okay, fair enough. All right, back to the story. Victor shows up in this 1815 flashback because he's like, this is where I take over the memories going back, and I don't want you here, and I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to keep killing you, pushing you through the memories till we reach the end of the story, and then I'm going to kill you there, and that'll kill your soul. And he shoots her in the head.
So good.
My only issue is it jumps from this first killing to the last memory, but later Ano in the narration says he kills her multiple times across multiple memories, and we don't get to see that.
You heard the gunshots though.
Fine, whatever. Anyway,
but a black screen with ripples was not satisfying.
Yes.
Oh, I liked it because for me it was like, imply. I didn't have to see like the same event happening over and over again.
I probably looked down to write a note, but I thought like, oh, we just did the 2 memories, and it wasn't until the narration of the next episode that I got the full context of what just happened. All right, So now they're in the first episode again. She goes running to find Andy, knowing he will show up for the first episode. And Victor starts destroying the city. Andy does show up. Andy and Victor meet each other for the first time and have a battle. This is still past Andy, but he now has an entire upgraded power set equal to Victor's. Not fully equal to Victor's. Not with his experience of Victor. Or the power level of Victor, but he can do things that Victor do. And, like we've mentioned, he can now put Unluck into specific body parts and have the Unluck just follow that. Meaning, Andy no longer has to be sacrificed to win.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of is going to take some of the emotion out of it. I feel like sacrificing him was going to be a big hurdle to overcome. Anyway. He can now just put his soul into his finger and then touch you with his finger, and then the Unluck gets you. He's able to stand his ground with Victor, and the Unluck is now so powerful that it no longer just does physical damage. It will literally have the worst thing that could happen to you happen, and Victor's head gets caught in a random Union trap ball.
Just happens to be in the airliner that crashes nearby.
that smashed into him.
And actually, that's what Victor points out, is that your Unluck is targeting my weakness, which was interesting. And he's like, because of that, I think you guys will be all right.
Yep, Jason jumped the hill a little bit, but Fuku's like, I want to talk to Victor. And he's like, Victor, we know you can break out of the ball. And he does. And he's like, what do you want? Like, why are you against us? He's like, I figured out we can't beat God. And I'm sick of the woman I love having to go through this over and over again, so I decided I'm just gonna kill her. But your Unluck's pretty good, so I think I'm gonna let you guys try. Bye. And she's like, well, how do I get home? He's like, you just gotta kiss Andy. They have a nice kiss, but then she's crying because now she's not gonna see past Andy. But then past Andy's like, don't worry, I'm gonna fuse with regular Andy and we're still gonna woo you. And she's like, I'm so looking forward to it. I was like, me too.
I don't know if I like the logical consistency of having the Unluck transfer into a party that just happens to be there. Like, I understood back when it was, you're holding his head, so when the lightning strikes his head, you get hit.
Right.
Or, some other
truck
issue
also hits you. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That made perfect sense to me. And if her Unluck was to target Andy, so it was something in particular that was affecting Andy's finger that wouldn't, especially targeting him, that would make sense to me. But for her Unluck to target somebody that Andy is touching with a piece of him, and it actually targets that person's weakness, that just doesn't seem quite right, because her Unluck was applied to him, not to the target he chooses. So I don't know. I don't know if I like that logic.
Maybe it's Unluck that she imbues, that she can then provide intention. And that's an evolution, but that would be an evolution of her current power.
I don't know if I like that either.
I just don't like it for a narrative reason. We've had some great moments, especially in the second half, where Fuku will mention something about death, and Andy will just kind of like sit there in silence for a long pause, and then grunt or say something finally. And they're showing that as this relationship is building, and they're barreling towards this future of her killing him to kill God.
Now he doesn't have to die.
Now we just took that away, and that's full of narrative drama and consequence and choice, and are you willing to risk? Is he willing to die now that he's found someone he loves? And I do think Andy is changing his mind about this ultimate death that he's been seeking, but now it doesn't matter. He can just put it in his finger and do his capture ball.
But even so, I think that's out the window as soon as we found out that he survives the flippin' end of the world. If the Earth being annihilated is not enough to kill this guy, is there anything that can kill him?
Well, I mean, for anything to be capable of killing God, who would create and destroy the world on a whim, we'll say, it would have to be orders of magnitude more powerful than that which destroyed the world. So it would be the only thing that could kill him. But you're probably right. Like that probably wouldn't even kill him because he's the antithesis of the concept of death.
If you kill God, then do the concepts still exist.
Okay,
That's a
so
good question.
I believe Fuko's under the assumption that if we kill God, I will no longer be unlucky. So I'm assuming undeath will also end.
Mhm.
right. So unless she pulls out a gun and shoots him after that, like her touching him is not going to do anything to end him.
Or previously it would have been at the same time. He would have died killing God, and now that
Right.
God's dead, he could not have survived it.
Oh, I see. So yeah. Oh, okay.
Which again, just dripping with narrative drama of like, do we really do this? Is it now that we've formed this relationship and it no longer is just a scratch my back, I scratch yours? Yeah.
But now you
again,
can just do it with fingers.
now it's in a finger and you can use trap balls.
Yeah.
And split your soul into multiple pieces.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, one other thing.
Here we go.
Oh God.
Something that occurred to me as we were talking. Undead, right? So his it almost comes across as like he's the antithesis to entropy, but her unluck like propels things toward entropy, right? So I don't know. For me, that it's almost like a yin yang right there, where they're balancing out. The two of them combined actually create.
I do like that.
They finalize it, yeah.
Because there's such a yin yang already with like, I'm a shut in, I've experienced the world for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
And they have so many
Opposites.
again, opposites that make them perfect together.
Yeah.
I'm 18. I'm 1,000 years old. It's
Yeah.
not creepy though.
No, it's
Yeah, put it that way.
It's usually the other way around, where the 18-year-old is 1,000 years old in anime. But it's also interesting because his name being undead, right? Like you think of death, you think of entropy, but in fact he would be the one that is pushing away from entropy. Unluck, you think of luck, positive things. You add the un in front of it, and all of a sudden you get negative. You get towards entropy, chaos, really. So I don't know. It's kind of cool.
All right, so back in the real world, Under shows up. Rip and his crew, and they're attacking Ano and trying to get to Fuko. And Unseen is about to kill Fuko, which we find out is a guy who can close his eyes, but he put on a third eye so that it doesn't matter.
I don't know why he has a third eye.
Well, no, because his rules are he's unseen as long as his eyes are closed. So if he has a third eye, he's still invisible with his two eyes closed because the third eye.
I didn't catch that. I didn't even catch that rule. That's cool.
They say that. Did I read that? I didn't spoil something, did I? I don't think it matters. He's dead.
He's dead.
Yeah, because
Well, he's
Ano
dead in this
goes,
loop.
use your new ability, and so he cuts the building in half to get him.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's dead. And then they start getting ready to fight each other, but then Autumn shows up and they battle together. And Ano's like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna draw an artifact that's gonna save the day, and you guys are gonna work together. Because Rip, you're one of my favorite characters ever, so I want you to be a good guy." And uses the Life is Strange device to age Rip 15 years, but
it takes 15
the
years off
rebound,
him, right?
yeah, no, it's like
150.
yeah, it's like times 5 or times 10 or
Times
something
10.
rebound.
Oh, dang.
So Ano, and then Rip's like, Who are you? Why did you just sacrifice yourself for me?
Mhm.
What is happening? Oh, you've pulled out my Dr. Good side. now we will fight together. So Andy can do enough damage to hurt Autumn, and Rip can do enough damage to undo the regeneration, so they have to hit together. And yeah, they kill Autumn in like 2 hits, and it's not really that good of a fight.
Agu, agu.
I kind of like
there's
the
a bunny
unluck.
girl.
I kind of like the unluck part where, they're trying to get the core of this thing. So how do you get to the core when it's a near unbeatable armor? Get a meteor to do it.
Get the meteor to do it.
Yeah, they sure use meteors for a lot of things here.
This is the first time I liked the Lotla character. I like the, hey, do you think we'll win? I predict we will absolutely lose. Oh, we're going to win. Because she's always wrong with her prophecies, and they just use that to know what to do. And yeah, they show Rip's flashback. He was a doctor, and Lotla, that is the sister of the woman he killed, who also blames herself. So they're working together. Anna warns
So,
them, you can't use the arc, and Latla will die if you do this.
So is this implying that he was a surgeon and during the surgery he got the unrepair? Oh, that's tragic.
And he asked her, he's like, will I succeed? And she said, yes, you'll succeed. It'll be great. She'll come out. And then, of course she died.
Oh.
So they both feel responsible.
Yeah, again, I like Rip's twist. This Rip and the Rip from the first fight just feel like different Rips. In fact, at the end of this fight, he's like, I'm taking the Soul Ripper artifact, but I'm going to give you the core. I'm going to give you back your gun. I'm going to give you every other artifact we have. The pen, which is now broken. And they're like,
it's
why?
okay that you killed unseen.
It's okay.
I'll get yelled at, but no worries there.
And they're like, why? He's like, I don't know. I just character dark. I don't know. Also, we get a shot of Andy like fist bumping the air, and the real Anno being like, "Oh, I did it! I saved the day." I love the flashback of Anno when he watches Andy doing quick draw training, and do you put a baby in me? Showing that Andy's a catch, and Fuko's doing good for herself.
Yeah.
This Rip arc definitely reminded me of the Majin Buu Vegeta arc, where you've got this guy that wants to be a bad guy in order to achieve his goals, and he just can't do it.
Well, and he points out, they're like, join us. He's like, if I joined you, you wouldn't give me the arc, and all I care about is getting to the arc. So, and I guess it does explain his murderous intent, because if he's like, hey, I'm just going to loop anyway, so who cares who I kill in this loop? But again, he was just so callous. He's like, I'm going to kill this freaking kid. I don't even care.
Yeah, he's not useful.
Yeah, and now he's like, oh, I'm going to share the items and we'll work together. I have a cute bunny girl on my team now who says oopa oopa, whatever.
I also like the fact that the pen was broken, and in light of what you said about God actually giving him unknown as a sort of punishment for getting all of the knowledge, which again, there's another one, knows all unknown, right? But having the pen broken, it's basically because the other artifacts get used all the time, and this artifact was used to create all kinds of things. Why would it break now? Because God is looking down. He's like, oh, you actually succeeded. You changed things. Okay, well, you can't have this anymore.
Yeah.
No more for you.
Maybe. We get a final. Andy and Fuko collapse and cuddle because from her point of view, she's been working for 10 years. Yeah, it's been a decade of work to get to this point from the last. So now she's 28.
Yeah,
mentally.
See, they're doing the anime thing.
Even better.
Like getting older.
I won't say it. I don't want to go in there. We need to be done. There's a quick shot of Billy and Juez meeting in winter, and that's a teaser for the next plot arc. Yeah, I think we're good. Let's go to final reviews. Jeremy, what you got?
The complaints I had before were more than I have now. Very little complaints now. I do think there's a bit of wasted time in the flashbacks. I said 30 seconds to a minute before, but I wasn't including like the intro time, and I was when I said 7 minutes. So I'm aware of that. But other than that, I'm really happy with the decisions that were made. There were a lot of interesting ideas pursued. Whether or not they were always a part of the story or whether they got retroed in, I'm impressed with how well it was done. I enjoyed it.
That's 100% fair.
Yeah.
It's retroed in well if it is retroed in.
Yeah, it's some serious skill if it is. So I got to give it a 5. Very much recommended. The first half is maybe a little bit harder, a little bit of turbulence there, but it's really good.
I'm in a similar boat in that I felt I've made this complaint before on other anime that I get to the end and I'm like, I want more. I hate it. Like, I do want more for this, but I don't feel too cliffhanged off, if you will. Like a lot of their story arcs wrapped up here, and I was really happy with that. But they gave enough that it was like, okay, I do want to see more. I want to see the next season. I'm looking forward to it, and I was very satisfied with the story that I was told so far. It was a fun ride, lots of interesting things to think about, and really cool concepts that were played with. I'm giving it a 5 again. Yeah.
The pacing is really good. The only thing I think I was really hoping we'd get to see the end of the time loop for this season, but that seems like it's going to be a
time
long
loop.
My gosh. It's a 5 for me, but I'm gonna. I've gushed enough. It's mostly because of Andy and Fuko. I'm so excited just to watch these characters, and it's a fun battle anime. But I'm gonna leave you with my prediction of the ending of this entire story, because I couldn't sleep last night. Laid in my bed, had too much caffeine, and it just hit me. What's the 2 end goals? Woo Fuko and have sex with her and kill God. And I'm like, oh, those are going to be the same thing. They're going to have sex to kill God. In fact, I've written it out. God's fighting everyone. They're holding them back. And he's like, wait, where's Andy and Fuko? They've been gone for 3 hours.
Oh, my God. No way.
Andy comes out. He's like, I got so much unluck. And then, like, another God comes and punches God because he's so much unluck. Look, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be the best.
And he delivers
finale
it
ever.
by. Never mind.
No.
This anime gets a 5. All right. Our next anime is going to be Solo Leveling. In case you missed that, and you can tell us what you think of Undead Unluck by reaching us on our Twitter account at Baka Podcast. You can come to our website and hit contact us. Leave us a comment there. The website is theanimebakaclub.com, or wherever you found this podcast. Usually has a comment section or review section. We appreciate you using them, even if it's a honest and fair, but maybe a little mean. Doesn't
Hey,
matter.
leave your hot takes. You never know when they might make it in. I need material. Come on.
Hot takes.
Telling us our opinion is stupid. Just really enforces everything we believe in.
Yes.
All right. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.
Agoo.